We produced just under 6,000 ounces of gold for total revenues of just approximately 14 million. And importantly, we've been working on optimizing both the mill and the mining.
All right, welcome back inside our proactive newsroom. And joining me now is Rohan Hazelton. He is the CEO of Dyna Resource. And Rohan, it's great to see you. How are you today?
I'm great. Thanks, Steve. Great to see you.
Yeah, great to see you as well. Excited to learn a bit more about what's going on in the company. I know you've had some news out recently. We'll talk about that in just a second. But for those not familiar, give us a bit of background on the company.
Sure, thanks. Dyna Resource is a junior gold producer producing gold in Western Mexico. We've been in production for almost 10 years. This year, we're targeting 27 to 30,000 ounces a year, and we're profitable and growing.
Yeah, you've recently released your production numbers for the quarter, and you did a lot of work in order to optimize and to try to get into certain that will probably really bleed out over the rest of this year. So tell me a little bit about the first quarter and what you were seeing.
Sure, thanks, Steve. Yeah, so in the first quarter, we produced just under 6,000 ounces of gold for total revenues of just approximately 14 million. And importantly, we've been working on optimizing both the mill and the mining, the mill circuit and mining. In particular, in the mine, we've been working on increasing our underground development and opening up additional faces and greater flexibility to essentially get the tonnage that we're targeting and to be able to focus on increasing grades. In the milling circuit, we've been doing a number of things both to reduce costs and also to look at increasing recoveries. And so we're installing a new circuit in the mill later this quarter that will be aiming to increase our recoveries by at least 5%.
Yeah, in the news release, it talks about some of the notables that happened in the quarter. One of those, as you mentioned, that exploration discovered three new mineralized veins. I mean, there's some positive things that came out of that quarter.
Yeah, no, exactly. And we have an extremely large and very prospective land package. It's approximately 10,000 acres. We're really mining in three main deposits, and we see significant potential, both in those deposits and in nearby extensions. So that's a lot of the work that we've been doing this past quarter was underground drilling, looking to increase those extensions of deposits. And during the course of that, we encountered several new veins, as you've mentioned, including several of very high grade zones. So we've been bringing in those into the current production and the medium term mine plan. And we're very optimistic about being able to improve on that during the remainder of the year with this enhanced development and flexibility.
Yeah, and you're having it said in the news release in Q3 you're planning on getting a lot of work done and sort of exploration, but also on some that you already have right now and sort of changing it over. And so there's a lot of things happening, I think, this year on the development side.
Yeah, exactly. So our exploration target for this year is 15,000 meters, of which say just under half would be from underground and the rest from surface. We've been working on that underground drilling so far and starting in the next quarter in Q3, we'll be implementing a surface drilling program, which is aimed at really two main goals. One is continue on those extension of veins and deposits that we already know, and importantly, getting information on some zones that are a bit further afield, a little bit further to the north in particular, where we have surface information and surface samples that indicate very high prospectivity. So we're looking forward to being able to do this drilling and expand both our overall resource base and in particular reserves that we can bring into a short-term mine plan.
Yeah. Rohan, tell me a bit about some of the reports that you were able to file, because everyone looks at those reports and wondering what's going to be happening with the company, and you were able to do a lot of work on that in that past quarter.
Yeah, thanks. So we just issued a PFS, a pre-feasibility study under U.S. rules SK 1300, since we are listed on the OTCQX in the U.S. Very similar to 43101. That report was the first technical report in almost 13 years that the company's produced. And what's really important about it is it's the first time we've produced a reserve report. So it proven and probable reserves of approximately 253,000 ounces, plus some inferred resource as well, showing an NPV, a reserve-only mine life of 7 years, and an NPV at $2,500 gold at just under $85 million, and at say $3,000 gold, an NPV of 133 million. So we think this, shows, very strong economics. It's the first, by being the first reserve, it's the first economic report that we put out publicly, and is a strong base for us to be able to move forward and be able to attract awareness and additional investors to the company.
Yeah, and on that, it's been tough the last 3 years. Let's be honest, in
Yeah.
the mining industry. But the gold price of gold right now has really opened a lot of eyes to potential projects and things that are going on. Are you feeling that as well, Rohan, in the work that you're doing at your project, but just in general?
Sure, absolutely, Steve. I mean, we're certainly seeing a lot of interest in both gold and, and in our company in particular. Our company has
Yeah.
sort of flown under the radar really for much of its existence, really. A lot of the capital into the company, it has been sort of more private capital, and we have a tight shareholder base. We're looking to expand that significantly this year, and looking to do an uplist on a major exchange by the end of this year. In discussions that we're having, around that. There's a lot of interest in both gold, and in our project, and I also think, you'll see a lot more M&A activity, in general in the sector.
Exciting times ahead, it sounds like, Rohan. Thanks so much for updating us on what you're doing and where you're at. And I know there's still lots of great work ahead, and we look forward to following your story. Okay.
Great. Thanks a lot, Steve. Look forward to it.
Yeah, good to see you. Rohan Hazelton, the CEO of Dana Resource.